I think in the last definitely 5 years, the music industry itself is going through a turmoil process. There's no doubt about that. Um, it is harder. It is harder to break new acts, harder than ever before. It is more costly than ever before to break new acts. And you really have to measure and try to stay focused on what you want to do with a specific act or a specific record you just finished. Because you don't have, before you were fortunate enough sometimes to break on a label 3 acts a year, 4 acts a year on the Latin side, which was great. In the last 3 years, I think there's, as far as I'm concerned, maybe between all the labels, maybe 2 artists are broken, and that's it. So it's a difficult process that we're dealing with today, and a lot has to do with the changing of radio to different formats. Before we were more generalized with Latin music, where we had a certain amount of radio stations playing the same type of or same genre of music within the Latin industry, which made it easier to break. Now, in today's business, you have salsa, you have merengue, you have reggaeton, you have regional Mexican, you have Latin pop, you have alternative rock. So you got a lot of genres within the Latin music field, and you just don't have enough media yet to be able to the same type, or let's say not enough media, the same type style of media that you can do what I call first tier marketing within the Latin business in the United States. We still consider a secondary market because obviously the language factor that we're dealing with, and the media is also secondary market. Okay, we don't have the luxury of having an MTV daily in the U.S. Hispanic market, like you do an MTV in the mainstream market. You don't have a BET, you don't have VH1. So our ways of marketing are limited to a certain degree to what the Americans have in the States as far as how they break records. So that has a lot to do with it. So we have to overcome those things. We just have to take bigger jumps, I guess, and just go forward. I feel optimistic about music. Okay, I feel optimistic about the record business. Let's call it the music business. Might take a completely different form of commercialism. I mean, we're dealing here with a lot of difficult problems. We're dealing with a tremendous amount of down of retelling, which at the end hurts. Hurts. Everything hurts. The pride. You're still dealing with people. Some people like to touch what they buy. Some people like to see what they buy. You know. So I think you have to be able to take that boat in these murky waters, and at the same try not to miss opportunities. I think that they are going to be, definitely they are now, a lot of different new opportunities coming up, and I think you have to be smart enough to be in the forefront of those opportunities. If it's digital sales are going to come along, let's get into the digital sales. Let's not wait around and say, hey, well, let's get into it. Is it the phone thing that's coming through? Let's get on it. Okay. I think a lot of these record companies have a problem that sometimes they're way too slow in reaction. And I think that in any type of business, especially the music business, I think there's a certain amount of risk that record companies need to take. Because if they're not risk takers, they won't be around very long. They just sort of die in their own murky waters. Let's put it that way. But at the same time, you got to be able not to forget what the traditional music business is all about. But I think we need to continue the traditional music business and continue adding the new avenues that come to it. Not just let's do this and forget about that. Because we don't have the luxury to forget about that. Because when the sales have gone down almost 35-40% in a 5-year period, I mean, what is there to even think about? I mean, 10 years ago, every record company was making millions of dollars on stuff. Well, now you don't. Now you got to be very, very careful. How do you run your business? How do you control your cost? How do you market these artists, whatever they are, to take them to mainstream America or take them to the ears that people are going to be able to consume them? Consume it digitally, consume them by traditional ways, or consume them by any new avenue that appears to us. But that's what I think I, as the record executive, and I think all my colleagues have to realize that what we're dealing with here is not an easy factor by any means. So if you're not smart enough and you're not quick enough, you won't be around very long. That's the way I feel about it.